Are you working? What kind of work?
Let's go to the first question. Bank of Cyprus is going to be registered in Ireland. What is the purpose of that move, and what's the outcome you are hoping for?
Well, look, so the Irish registration is purely mechanistic. It's a legal registration. The company will be tax resident in Cyprus. It just happens to be legally incorporated in Ireland. The reason for it is that we ultimately want to have the Bank of Cyprus Group to be a premium listed company on the London Stock Exchange. You can't do that if you have a Cyprus registered company, because in September 2014, Cyprus was designated a frontier market, and therefore it does not qualify for inclusion in indexation at a later date. That's why we chose a Eurozone Irish company, nothing else.
Technically, is it going to be Bank of Cyprus? Because, you know, Cypriots are very sentimental about these things.
Kinon Kyprion is our motto. We are from Cyprus, for Cyprus. Everything we do is in Cyprus. The bank is tax resident in Cyprus, managed in Cyprus, organised in Cyprus, about Cyprus, for Cyprus, with a Cyprus brand. It'll still be Cypriot.
Nice. What do you expect for Bank of Cyprus after the entrance in the London Stock Exchange, and what potential will it give to Bank of Cyprus?
Look, the bank is currently listed in Athens and in Cyprus, and the liquidity on a daily basis for trading volumes in the stock is very low. So it's very hard for investors to buy and sell stock in size. It just takes forever. And that's bad for the stock, it's bad for the investor, it's bad for value discovery. So we no longer have a business in Greece, and I believe that Cyprus should differentiate itself from Greece. Cyprus is a far better performing economy, better managed, no capital controls, and now the second fastest growing economy in Europe. It is very important for us to manifestly display that in how we organise our own affairs as the bank. So we're delisting from Athens and listing just onto the London Stock Exchange and maintaining our listing in Cyprus. So you still have the opportunity to trade on the Cyprus Stock Exchange, but instead of Athens, you get London, which is by far a more liquid, organised market, a much more serious international capital market, and I think that's good for the stock.
Okay, that obviously gives a higher potential for Bank of Cyprus performance, but do you have a fear that the shareholders will get a chance to sell with this move?
Look, our shareholders can sell at any time. We want willing shareholders who want to own the stock. And my job is to repair the bank so that the shareholders have the faith to invest and create value by buying more at a higher price. Now, over time, I think that will happen. But the first job is repair the bank. The second job is create the conditions for the discovery of value and liquidity. And hopefully that discovery of value and liquidity gives rise to a rising share price in time.
Thank you very much. What is the current situation with the non-performing loans? Did the reform help?
Yeah, look, the legal framework in Cyprus when we started this journey 1,000 days ago was very bad. It was not a legal framework that should be in place to support a functioning banking system, and the various reforms that have been put in place by the government are now helpful to our dialogue with delinquent customers. So in the past, it may have taken me 10 years to foreclose on a property where someone had stopped paying. Now I can do it in 18 months. That's moving me from a marshmallow hammer to a real hammer in my discussions. So I have more power in the discussions, we have a more real conversation, and the consequences are near term, not long term. So all of these things improve the dialogue with customers on non-performing loans. And if you look at our balance sheet today, in the first 9 months of the year, we are down by 2.6 billion in delinquent accounts. That's 23% of the balance sheet. And we are making vastly more progress than any other bank in Cyprus. And indeed, I would say we're making one of the fastest progress in reduction in non-performing loans anywhere in Europe.
We have a new government in the US, and Mr. Roche was picked by President-elect Trump to serve his cabinet. What will happen to his shares and his position?
Look, that's for him to determine, but I think we should be very proud that the Vice Chairman of Cyprus's largest bank has been nominated by the President-elect of the United States to hold one of the most important cabinet positions, Secretary of Commerce. So that's a cool thing. Now, Wilbur is involved in an investment firm, and I would expect the investment firm to continue its investment thesis, but I can't speak for Wilbur.
Okay, thank you very much. I will go back to the Laiki owners, stockholders, which, as I know of, the 8% of their stock of the Laiki owners will be sold. The buyer will have a big say in this. Will the owner have a say?
Well, I'm not entirely certain I understand the question.
8% of the stocks of Bank of Cyprus are to Laiki owners, banks, former stockholders. These are going to be sold, and of course, obviously, the owners, the buyers are going to have a big say when they buy them. Will the owners of the stock will have any say?
Well, I think we should make sure we're dealing in the inconvenience of the truth. The Laiki estate is in liquidation, and its job is to create some cash to pay off the estate in the order of the creditor hierarchy. 9.6% of this bank today is owned by the former estate. They have appointed investment banks to advise them on potential sale. If they choose to sell it, that cash will be generated for the estate of Laiki, and it will flow in the natural hierarchy through. So I think the owners, there's no real owners now of the Laiki estate. It's in liquidation, being run by a special administrator who no doubt will consult the relevant stakeholders involved in it, but that's not for me to comment on.
Okay. One of the biggest goals of Bank of Cyprus getting into the London Stock Exchange has been fulfilled. What's your next big goal and your next big move?
Look, we have to continue the same journey we've been on in the business itself. Our job is to reduce non-performing loans aggressively and to try and ensure that we protect and drive a business that can create shareholder value by generating real core profitability. You know, it has been the case that all of the core profitability generated by this bank in the 1,000 days so far, and certainly a little bit more forward, will be directed at de-risking the balance sheet. You know, our balance sheet has been reduced by more than 8 billion since we started this journey. Our emergency liquidity assistance has been virtually repaid. It's down to 400 million today from 11.4 billion when we started the journey. We have sold what I can only describe as misadventures abroad in terms of our Russian business, our Ukrainian business, various exposures in Serbia, Romania, and other hedge fund of hedge funds investments, and a variety of things that we, in my opinion, should not have embarked on in the first place. Now our job is to try and make sure that we create value, and that value is created through a profitable business, properly run from a risk management perspective, and one which we think will ultimately give rise to an expression of value through the stock price.
All right, and just one last question. We're about to enter 2017. What are your predictions and your hopes about the banking sector in general?
Look, I think 2017 holds some significant dangers for Europe. I think the growth agenda is slowing. The fissures that are becoming obvious politically and economically across Europe will need to be addressed quickly. But on a micro level, I think that the Cyprus economy will continue to strengthen. I would expect to see a similar level of growth next year versus this year. I would expect to see us make more progress, and I'd expect the banking sector in Cyprus to continue to strengthen. But I worry for the wider European economy, particularly given the political cycles, which are not married to the economic cycles, which I think present real dangers for Europe, particularly in the context of the Renzi vote, in the context of a Britain that is leaving Europe, in the context of upcoming French elections, upcoming German elections, upcoming Netherlands elections. I think all of these things give rise to a much more uncertain future for Europe, and therefore for banking across Europe, but not Cyprus.
Not Cyprus. Is Cyprus in any way vulnerable to any future Europe events that might disturb the current balance in any way?
Yeah, look, I think Cyprus is a small, open economy, the eastern gateway to the European Union. It is highly exposed to the vagaries of international capital markets, international politics, and international events. So there is always a danger there. But I think this is a time when small nations' voices need to be heard. And I think it is extremely important that Cyprus, Ireland, and other small peripheral nations make their voices very loud and very heard in the context of a Europe that needs to be reformed.
Thank you very much.